Hi, you are listening to The Sound of Color, a podcast exploring how color shapes design, architecture, and the way we experience the world.
Our work is not about pleasing people. To us, it's like a journey.
I'm your host, Sarah Gottlieb. I'm a designer and a color specialist. In each episode, I invite influential guests from the fields of design, art, and architecture to talk about their work, their ideas, and the role color plays in both.
I don't know if you have to, but I think it's super interesting, of course, and I think there can be so much more happening.
So, whether you're a designer, an architect, or simply someone who just loves color, this podcast is for you. Hello, everyone. Today's episode was recorded live at Formland, Scandinavia's leading interior and design trade show. Welcome to this special live recording of the podcast, The Sound of Color, here at Formland. This episode is supported by the Danish Arts Foundation and produced in collaboration with Formland. The guest in this episode is partner and interior architect Sanna from Note Design Studio. But I think we should get started with the conversation today.
Yeah.
And today's theme is something that's very close to my heart. I've called it Don't Be Beige.
Yeah.
And we will be talking about how color is much more than decoration, and that it's an extension of who we are. It's a reflection of our values, and it's a very powerful tool for storytelling.
Very.
Whether that is in our homes or in our brands or the way we present ourselves, color has the power to signal confidence and personality. So I'm very happy to have a guest with me today. Let me introduce my guest, Sanna, interior architect and partner at the Stockholm-based Note Design Studio.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Sure.
And if you know their work, you will know that they are a multidisciplinary studio, that they are known for their bold use of color, rich material palette, and a conceptual strong approach to interiors, products, and spatial design, I would say. So, Sanna, I'm really excited to dive into how you and your team work with color. But maybe, first of all, I would like to ask you about your journey.
Yeah.
How did color become a central part of your work?
Oh, that's such a... It has a very quick answer, but of course it's also very big. But the short version is, for me, when I was a young girl, my grandparents always had these piles of interior decoration magazines laying around. And we always went to them on Sundays. And the best thing I knew then was to sit there and just look through these magazines of, from all over there were magazines from all over the world, but they all were about design. And I also remember once in a library in the little town where I'm from in Sweden, when I was there to study, I think, but I went to the photography and the design shelves because I was bored, and I found these books of Trisha Guild. Do you know Trisha Guild?
Well, please also explain, both for the audience and for
I mean, this must have been in the 90s, and she did a lot of books back then, of wallpaper and the curtains, and today maybe that color world that she represented isn't my own, but it was so wild and, for me, eye-opening at the time, because you started saying, what about beige and white, which is in the Scandinavian universe, but she's British, but in those books there were all these images of veils from India in magenta and turquoise and all these clashing colors. And I remember to me it was wild. It was like this high. It was just, super eye-opening. And I think that's when it started, that I got crazy about color. And after that, when I got my first own apartment, I painted it in crazy colors and tried different things in my own home. And went to design school, and then I found Note, a group of people who are also passionate about color and think it's super interesting to try color and try what they do when you mix them with each other. And yeah, that's the short answer, I think.
No, I think that was a very good answer. But I think also now when you're saying that, so that leads me on to like, do you think that, when you met up and you founded Node and you found this group of people and you experiment, is there like kind of a set way we take the color into your professional work?
Yeah.
Is there a set way that you guys work with color? Is there like an approach in your process?
I mean, there is nothing set. There is nothing decided that this is how we do it. But we, for instance, when we work with interiors, we start with the concept every time. What story should there be told? What's the red line through this project? And then color is part of it, but it's not at all of it. It's just it's one of the pieces of the puzzle. But when we do get to the color scheme of the project, then I think we are all very brave, and we want that we all want to get to the point where we can feel it in the stomach, when it starts to vibrate, and when it's we are a Swedish studio, and Swedish studios can sometimes be quite modest, and it can be a lot of black and white and graphic expressions. I don't know if it's because we are a group of people, we're like 16 people, so together we can be brave. We can push each other, and you don't have to stand alone if it doesn't work. Then you have colleagues and you have partners in crime who can say, yeah, but you did good, or you tried your best, So we can go ahead and try these things. And to find the vibrations, I think we always want to feel that we are looking for that edge when it starts to almost feel a bit like weird or like something you haven't seen before. When it becomes something new, and then you can't stay in the beige universe, and you can't stay in the white universe. Then
that doesn't vibrate.
It's almost like a nothingness. Yeah. And that does then you don't like paint the painting, or you have to have, especially when talking about a room, it's so three-dimensional, and you look around it, and everywhere you look, at least from our perspective, we want it to be dynamic. You should be surprised, or you should find new things, and it can't all be one. Then you have to find those vibrations. So there has to be the modest and the bold within that frame or within that space.
So that's almost like a little bit of a recipe for you guys.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it is that way because we have evolved together to do what we do. I can look at other designers doing something very different and loving what they do, but I can't do it, But there are studios that do the beige and the white and the black with perfectness, if you say that. But I could never do. I don't have the tools for that. Like, color is probably my tool, or it's a very strong piece of all the projects that I do and that we do. So it's just also something that happens, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I want to also pick up on when you say that when you get to the process of making the color palettes or like the schemes for the projects, that you also go for like a vibrating feeling.
Yeah.
Which leads me to something of a bit of an experiment that we have in this podcast.
Yeah.
Because I think, as you say as well, I think that colors are so much more than just a visual impression. They're, of course, a huge element in art and design, but they are an element that actually has this great ability to touch us and make us a strong sensory impression on us.
Yes.
Which is beyond the visual. Which then leads to this unique experiment that we've come up with in the podcast. And this is, of course, a bit of a different situation because it's a live podcast, but a big part of it, the sound of color, is that a musician will create a piece of music from a color that you choose.
Yeah.
So, Sanna.
It's an honor.
Yes. What color would you like to hear the sound of?
Well, when we spoke about this before, and I told you one of my other role models in the design industry is Hella Jongerius. She's Dutch, such a color queen. And she has written this book, which is called I Don't Have a Favorite Color. And I also feel the same, that it's very hard to pick one, and there are so many, and they do things with each other. So it's not an easy answer. But in the end, I chose like a deep chocolate brown. Yeah.
Yum. And why did you choose this color? What does it mean to you?
Well, I use it a lot right now in work. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, I would have said apricot pink. Then I had a yellow phase, like a mustard yellow phase. Now I think I'm in the brown phase. You know, you always want to progress and find what's interesting for the next project, or how can I find the new that I was talking about. And right now, brown to me is it can be classic and quite modest, but it also has a depth and a darkness to it. So maybe it's not as poppy as the colors I've usually worked with before, but I like that it's so deep.
And do you think, now you also mentioned, you had a yellow period.
Yeah.
Do you think that, are you like kind of aware of trends, or like do you feel like that's a way that you are affected by your color choices through time?
Yeah, I am probably, because we all are, I guess. We see all these trends and they follow us wherever we go. But I try not to think of trend when working, or I don't think that we do. Sometimes clients or other people that we meet in work can say, but what shouldn't we make it blue? Because the trend now is blue, and to me that's like, ooh, I get the shivers. Because
why do you get the shivers?
But it's not important. First of all, I think our work is not about pleasing people right now, giving them what they want or what they're expecting. To us, it's like a journey, and always trying to find new expressions and pushing the boundaries. And then you can't look over your shoulder to what's happening next to you. You have to go out where it's a bit uncomfortable. For me, that's when I find it fun and interesting. When I find it a bit like, ooh, do I hate it or do I love it? And that's when that's interesting. But
it's like where it tickles.
It tickles, like, ooh, yeah. And then I feel I have to call someone and tell someone what just happened.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think, but another thing is, like, obviously now we're here at this live presentation where you can see a nuance, kind of the nuance that, I don't know if it's hard to see it on the screen, on the brown here, but just for the listeners, when the podcast comes out, if you had to, how to describe a color without going into like kind of technical parts, but if we go with the thought that colors affect us on all our senses, how would you describe this color brown to a blind person?
Yeah, I would. Okay, that's a good question. I would probably. I have to close my eyes. I would describe it as something with depth and warmth, and a bit of a glow to it, and something that doesn't pop up against you, but rather like you have to dive into the deep.
Just deep diving.
Deep diving, yeah. But into warmth and something soft. It's still, I think it's a soft and warm color, but also very deep. And
You have to go to like underwater mines, like cave diving.
Yeah, I would never dare.
No.
This is an easy way.
But that's also maybe quite good, that you would never dare. That sometimes a color can actually kind of evoke that emotion with you that you would never dare.
Yeah.
Well, we have prepared a little bit, so stay around and we'll play the musician's interpretation of your brown at the end of this talk.
Wow.
Yes? Well, I think the next thing I want to do is I want to kind of spotlight on one of your projects. Yeah. Just to explore how color shapes the work at Note Design Studio. Mm-hmm. And I always ask the guests that I have on the show to talk about a specific project that really shows your approach to color in action. And we've prepared for this in advance. And today we're going to talk about one of your recent projects. like now I'm going to say my very bad Swedish, but myr and mylla.
Myr and mylla. I know it's difficult, but it was good.
Thanks. Myr and mylla, which is a textile that you did for Kvadrat Febrik.
Yeah.
It's a knitted textile collection, and it's a project where color is, I would say, at the center, not only as something beautiful to look at, but as a material.
Yeah,
actually.
almost a technical thing to the collection, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, and also like a material that people can combine and work with in many different contexts.
Yeah.
From interiors to more like everyday objects and use. And with that in mind, how do you approach designing colors for a material rather than a finished project or product?
Yeah.
And I just want to click on.
Yes. We have some photos.
I have some photos
for the audience.
Not for the listeners, but for the people who's here today.
Yeah, something for you.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, the question was, with this in mind, that this is like how do you approach designing colors for something which is a material and not a product or a space?
Okay, so there are many answers to that question in this case. First of all, we did this project for a company called Febrik. They are Dutch, making knitted textiles. We love them. We think they are so cool. They have been this kind of underdog in the textile business for a long time. They produce their textiles in a mattress textile factory. So it's a textile that is quite technical and you can stretch it. It's like a sneaker feeling kind of. We know them since long, and they gave us a brief to do this collection for them before they were bought by Kvadrat. So then it was just Febrik when we started, because it took 5 years to do these textiles.
Wow.
Yeah. But we've always used their textiles in our projects, or wanted to, but we found it difficult because of the color scheme that they've had. So we've loved them as people, and we've loved the feel of the textiles. But the textile, the colors of the textiles were very Dutch, if I can say so. It was colors that aren't normally in our Scandinavian universe, perhaps.
And how is something Dutch?
Yeah, it's a lot of deep purples and greenish, yellowish tones. A lot of tones that are a bit like off or not the ones that we usually use. So in all our projects, when we wanted to use their textiles, it's been difficult. So this was a way for us to maybe put in what is part of our universe into their collection. And we did actually think of it not as a textile for only furniture, but we actually thought of it as from a spatial point of view. So we thought, if we can design a collection of textiles that you can cover a whole space with, basically, what if we could use them for wall panels and furniture and details, and still that it would be interesting? So when you start to think of it that way, then you have to have what we started out saying. You have to have the base colors, the softer ones that don't just get in your face. And for the smaller objects, then you can go down into more brave colors, like this blue one, for example.
Yeah, I think there is also a beige in this collection.
There is a beige and a gray and a light pink. So there are these very sweet and soft colors. But there's also the deep brown and the very punchy blue. So there's both the brave and the softer tones, so that you can build those dynamic scenarios that we always try to do when building interior spaces. So we kind of started out with thinking, how do we work, and how would we want to use a collection of fabrics if we were free? And that was the starting point for it.
So actually, even though this was designing for a material, your approach in designing the colors were almost the same as when you design a space.
Exactly, it was very much spatial, and we thought of the presentation images. How could we show it in the end, even before we started with the design? And the collections is, like you said, it's myr and mylla, so it's 2 collections. So one is more flat, and one has this bubbly surface to it. So there's also in the how they feel, and
like the
quality, the surfaces are different, even though they have the same colors. But also there you can have just, a more discreet surface, and you can have the bolder surface, and then you can work with those to create those dynamics.
Yeah. And I want to, when you're also, going back to that, you said that when you're working on a color scale or a color scheme for a project, that you kind of want to have this, tickle or, emotion.
Yeah.
What guided the color palette in this project? Was there any ideas or feelings that you wanted to bring across? Both for the textile itself and the environments that you envisioned that they would be used in?
Normally we don't do it this way, but here because there was no brief for the colors, we could actually start with just our favorites.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. That's never possible otherwise. Otherwise you have maybe a private client, or you have a brand that you have to look at and meet what they need. But this was just from us. So we could be free. So we started out picking images of colorish landscapes that we found that just caught our attention, or objects that we found were super interesting in the way in their color and also in their surfaces. So we kind of collected this mood board of just what we like, me and some colleagues, and worked from there, and then you have to take away afterwards, of course. And I think we ended up with 20-ish colors, and then Kvadrat came in and said, no, it has to be 10. So then we had to take away, and that is also so difficult when you think these 20 are what you need to be able to do that dynamic. Also, just when you present the collection on a table for someone, for a client or whoever, and you want it to be dynamic, also just laying on the table, you want it to look interesting, not dead or not too much. It has to have all these sides to it. And so going from 20 colors to 10 is but what do we take away, and how do it affect the other ones? So then we had to change those 10 a bit. If we had more browns, then we had to take all the browns and just choose one, merge them into one, and which one was that? It was that was difficult.
And did you also think about did you think about the color as a tool for other, how did you think about it as a tool for other architects and designers to use, or end users?
Definitely, because we also design furniture, so we know from that perspective as well, what do we need? If we need a mustard yellow, for example, how bold should it be? When does it cross the line? It has to be, maybe it has to have a discreet side, but also a strong, powerful side, but it can't be crazy. So to just picking those nuances, and being quite pushy also, for example, the blue and the very orangey red, the orange pinkish one that we have. No, we don't anymore, because that's out. Sorry. So it's the yellow and the blue.
That was not in the 20.
That was not in the 20. That was in the 20, and now it's gone. Yeah. But hopefully it comes next, I don't know. But now it's the punchy yellow and the punchy blue that are these brave ones.
Yeah.
And we have really, we had discussions with Febrik and Kvadrat, and between us also we wanted them to be very bold, so that it doesn't be, because it's easy to think, but it has to fit everyone, and we can't scare anyone off. But also from our point of view, we also, it needs to be interesting, and we have to follow our gut feeling here. And we did that, I think, and it was a good collaboration with all our 3 companies in the end, but it took 5 years. So
a long process.
It was a long process.
Yeah, because I'm also wondering now, when you said that you had to scale down on a bigger color scheme, and I guess even interior decorators or buyers or designers and architects, when you're building a color scheme, and you said we had to take down and do 1 brown instead of 4 browns.
Yeah.
Is there kind of would you say that, do you have a tip to when you have to make a coherent color scale, what is how do you kind of balance it out? Is there anything where you do you have a little recipe in your head almost, or?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I do. But yeah, it's about the cold. And to me, at least, it's very much about the cold and the warm. Like, yeah, you have to have the cold and the warm. But if you have cold ones that are very close to each other, then they have to have the same coldness. And if you have the warm ones, they have to have the same warmth. They can't be a bit off. It has to be like either or. But that is a very difficult question, I think, for me to theorize. And yeah, that has to do a lot with the gut feeling and just laying it out and feeling it almost.
Yeah. I think so. That almost your recipe is more laying it out and feeling it.
Laying it out, feeling it, and also maybe from the beginning knowing what you're looking for. Just laying something out, and so you have to have your concept, or you have to have your aim firsthand. That's very important, I think.
And what was the aim for Muir and Müller?
Yeah, to create a strong, coherent color world that came from Note, I think. That is kind of the soul of Note, or that is the expression that we have in many of our projects, because we could choose the colors just coming from us. And so it's a very dynamic, I would say it's dynamic. Even though it's only 10, it is vibrant and it is dynamic. And for some reason, that is very much the expression of the Note projects, even though that was never a goal, but that just happens.
But I think also maybe an interesting fact, because when I was researching into the project and into what Muir and Müller actually means.
Yeah.
So I think that's also quite nice for everybody to hear here today, and for the listeners, that Muir and Müller is like the Swedish words for Muir is like a swamp-ish area, soil. Yeah. So it's both kind of related to basically dirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like earth or soil, but just very two different ones. Like it's like the wild marshes and like the wild earth, and then it's like the cultivated earth.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's also quite an interesting thought sometimes, to have that in a design process.
It's true.
To bring that dynamic of two different worlds, like something that is wild and something that is cultivated.
Definitely.
And also bringing that, I guess, with your textures and with the color range, that is to some extent maybe what you're trying to inspire the architects. It is so true.
It has that dynamic of the calm and the wild, 100%. Yeah. Good analyze.
Just come to me, I'll analyze your life. This is a short conversation, so we are almost about to have it up for wrap-up time. But I have a few final questions. So one is it's a bit more broad. I want to ask you. So why do you think it's time to turn up the volume on colors in design right now?
Wow, that's a difficult question. I don't know if you have to, but I think it's super interesting, of course, and I think there can be so much more happening. And when I started working and when I started my career, I think it was in 2010-ish, then there was a lot of very white interiors. I think a lot since then has happened, and now, here in this fair, for example, all these furniture brands, they are very brave with color now. But that can always evolve, and you don't have to stop. And you can have your different phases of color, like I was talking about also. So you can constantly try to find build new dynamics. And why stop? I don't know. It's but I also think it's a very personal thing with color, and I think I don't want to tell anyone what they should like or that you have to like any of it. It's very much up to everyone's gut feeling. I think what hits you, what makes you feel interested, or that you want to go search for that thing. Yeah, so
personal touch.
Yeah, personal.
Yeah. Well, that actually almost it leads me to my final questions before we finish up, because I wanted to ask you if you had one piece of advice for using color with confidence and intention. I think
maybe
both for architects and for people at home.
Well, I can start by saying it's not dangerous at all. You can paint, and if worst comes to worst, you can repaint, or you you can add things. If a space, for example, if you do it in one way, you can add some other colors, and then you can totally change the dynamics. So there is nothing static, I think, about color or interiors. You can always work on them. And yeah, I don't know. I was very brave when I was young, like with my own homes, for example. But then I've had calmer phases. And my own house, for example, now is very beige. But I don't like it. So now I have to add things. So now I walk around at home feeling, oh, but it's just slow here and nothing happens. And now I have to add the dynamics again. So now I have to find, I don't know, some pieces that are colorful. And what can I add to this beige universe? Maybe something orange or something bright red. So it's changeable, and just work with it. But a very good tool, I would say, to be brave is, again, to start by looking, to find out what you're looking for. Like, I don't know, collect some inspirational images or objects or whatever, and look at it as a whole to find the direction, at least. So you don't just pick randomly, then it's very difficult. But if you find your direction, and within that direction, then you can just work. And yeah.
But I think also you, as you said, even said yourself now that, when you were young, you were brave, then you had a period where you needed something more calm, and now you're ready for a bit more. So basically maybe it's also like listening to your own emotional journey of where you're going.
Yeah, and you evolve always, and this, since it's so personal, it should follow you, and you don't have to stop. You don't have to stay. You can change. Yeah. That's
a good place to stop.
Yeah.
It's a personal thing.
I
want to say thank you to Sanna Wallin and to Note Design Studio for this inspiring conversation about colors and how you work with colors.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So I hope you enjoyed it, and I want to wrap up this talk with the sound of Sanna's chosen color, brown, and let it fill the room. Ooh. And I hope that this will remind you that color, just like music, speaks before words. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
You've just listened to Sofie Sø's musical interpretation of the color brown. Sofie Sø is the resident musician of the Sound of Color podcast and the artist behind the experimental electro-pop project Alu. Known for blending electronic textures with cinematic depth, Sofie has gained international attention for her emotional and detail-rich sound. For this piece, inspired by the color brown, she imagined a walk through a lush forest, from the muddy ground beneath our feet to the vast, majestic surroundings above. To capture that feeling, she worked with a digital ensemble of instruments run through electronic pedals, creating shifting organic textures. The track moves between intimacy and greatness, reflecting both the earthy details and the openness of nature. And with that, we've reached the end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who loves colors and design just as much as you do. Hopefully they will enjoy it as well. And if you'd like to see more about Note Design Studio's work, head over to my website sarahgottlieb.dk under the podcast session. This episode was made possible with the support from the Danish Arts Foundation and produced in collaboration with Formland. Thanks again for listening, and see you next time on The Sound of Color.